Barbie Hall, who is running for as a Democratic candidate for U.S. Congressional District 11. Didn't know before our last meeting, but I'm very happy she's here to report today. I heard her the other day at the Lovely Liberal Ladies meeting, and she'll give a brief overview of herself, and we are enthusiastically supporting her with the club's donation tour campaign, which we gave her earlier, and it's your dues that allow this to happen. If you want to give additional money on a personal basis, I think Pat passed out, Barbie's funds. She has to raise $10,000 in order to get on the ballot, just to get on the ballot. And then obviously there's money to actually fund the campaign. So I appreciate anybody helping, and hopefully she can join us for lunch.
Cohen, undersheriff Pat Breeden.
Thank you.
One more thing, after this, we'll do the 50-50, and we can do and Pat Beerholder's, who's the head of who's past president, but she's also heading up the fundraising committee. We'll give a brief discussion of that.
Yes, please stay for that. We need your input, and that'll only take a couple minutes.
I will say that if I win, that's going to be my reaction right there. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I do want to go ahead and start off by apologizing for last month because I canceled last minute. I woke up Saturday of the meeting at 4 o'clock in the morning, sick. My kids had the norovirus several days before, but I thought we had passed everything. I thought we were good to go. And then I woke up sick, which then started another 8-day round through our household. So I apologize for not being here, but also for the last minute cancellation. But I knew that none of you would want to be exposed to that. So I am glad to be here today and to see all of you and meet all of you. And I will have to say, Sumter County, do you know the commotion that you've caused in the last week? Maybe not you guys, but with the presidential primary results that came out. And Sumter County is no longer bright red. So I think there's a few people in the MAGA camp that are a little worried because Sumter County voted more or less for Donald Trump than Lake County, than some of the other more red counties. So all of a sudden you guys have a few people a little worried that Donald Trump is not going to have as much support as he has had in the past this year. Which is a good thing for me because I'm running against two very friendly Donald Trump fans, one more extreme than the other. But in order to win, not only do I need Democrats, but I'm going to need the NPAs, the independents, and some moderate Republicans. But it's completely possible because I have received more emails and comments and messages from people that are actually Republicans than Democrats, saying, I can't believe that there's going to be somebody. I don't share all the beliefs that you do. However, I cannot vote for somebody that supports Donald Trump. So it's become more and more positive as things have gone on. And actually last week I was speaking at the Legacy Democratic Club, and I guess by the time that they asked me to when I went out there, they had added a doctor that was speaking about Alzheimer's. So when I walked in, they were like, this is not, it's a mixed crowd. We have a lot of Republicans here. So I definitely had to make a last minute switch as to what I said. But I went up there and I talked to them, and afterwards I had 3 people come up to me and say, I'm a Republican, but I'm voting for you. So I'm going to start off this by saying that this is, obviously you all know how important this year is. We saw what happened in 2020 when Donald Trump rightfully lost the election and how he tried to hold on to power. This year, if he loses again, but if they win the House, if they win the Senate, we're gonna have issues. Not only that, we see what's happening in Florida right now and in Texas, denying the Supreme Court decision made by a majority of Republicans, but that we have Florida and all of these other Republican states now assisting Texas in defying a Supreme Court decision. So it also worries me what's going to happen with some of these states like Florida that has a Republican supermajority and a Republican governor who is more worried about what's going to make him look good to his base as opposed to what's lawful, what's right, the things that he can do. So that's why this year the elections at every single level are so important, and why we need people like you to help us. And that doesn't mean, I know, knocking on doors, some people can't do it, they don't want to do it. But even this year, writing postcards to people locally. I was given information and access to, the areas that I need to focus on to get votes. And in Sumter County, there was a precinct that only had 20 or 30% Democratic turnout in 2020 and in 2022. So that's hundreds of votes of Democrats that they just did not vote. So those are the areas that you guys can help focus on with postcards or with letters, having them sign up for vote by mail or having them sign up to actually vote, because that's going to make a huge difference this year. So little things that you guys can really do to not only help myself, but to help Joe Biden, to help Debbie, who's running for the Senate here in Florida, that if you guys come in a few weeks, you'll meet her. And also the local elections, because all of those are going to end up being so important this year. I know it's getting late, so I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I will say the things that are important to me, there's so many people on the right that feel that they're extreme. But to me, it is not an extremist idea to feel like I should make my own healthcare decisions. That's not something that should be controversial. And what I tell people is, if you do not believe in having an abortion, then don't have an abortion.
Right.
But if I come to a scenario where my life is at risk, I want to be able to make the decision on whether I should risk my children becoming motherless. It is not an extreme idea to feel that easy access to guns should not happen.
Right.
To feel that, and I wish the sheriff's officers were still here, if there was a database where you sell your car, there has to be a paper trail where you register your vehicle. Is it an extreme idea to feel like when you sell your gun or when you purchase a gun, there should be a paper trail? Because I tell you, police officers, I think it would make their job easier. You find a gun, somebody says it was stolen, well, let's track it back. But if it goes through a gun show, if it goes through private dealers, things like that, that trail's not there. That is not an extreme idea to feel that there should be a paper trail. That if somebody has been convicted of a crime of violence or domestic violence, they should not have access to a gun. That would be a red flag law. That you should be charged if you don't safely store your gun and your 3-year-old comes along and is able to get access to it. These are not extreme ideas. It is not an extreme idea to feel that everybody should have access to health care and affordable health care. Just like President Biden said, he's able to bring the cost of insulin down, and they're still making a profit. But instead of hundreds and hundreds of dollars, it's lower, but they're still making profits on it. Our health, our lives should not mean profits to companies. That, again, not an extreme idea, right? I wouldn't think so. It is not an extreme idea that the money you pay in, I pay in, to Social Security, to Medicare, that you get access to that. That is not an entitlement. That is something that we all deserve. And no matter what they say, oh, we're not going to touch Social Security, we're not going to touch Medicare. They're going to. They're going to. And it's not that we can't afford it, it's just that their donors don't want them to support it.
Right.
Because they don't want their taxes to be raised. Because to me, it's not an extreme idea to feel that if you're making $1 billion in profits, that you're getting a tax refund instead of paying taxes, which happens. If you're making $1 billion in profit, there should be a minimum tax that you're paying. No deductions, no nothing. A fair share. Again, these are not crazy ideas, but they're going to make you believe that it's crazy. Daniel Webster it just came out, the Alliance for Retired Americans went and scored all the legislators. Daniel Webster score, 0% pro-retiree. 0%. He represents the largest retirement community in the world. You guys, 0% pro-retiree. And you look at him, age is just a number, I'm not knocking anybody's age here, but you look at his age and you're like, how can you be 0% pro-retiree when you're the age that you are? Well, when you have been a politician since 1980, and you get government health care, you get government pensions, you're collecting over $2 million in salary since being in Congress for 12 years. He doesn't need to be pro-retiree, he's set for life.
What was the name of that website again, please?
It's the Alliance for Retired Americans.
Okay, thank you.
But he represents the largest retirement community in the world. And it's because people see the party behind the name and they vote for it without looking at the things that they care for or the work that they're doing. And unfortunately, he's not doing any work. He also posted something a few weeks ago, and actually he posted something again this week, but he reworded it because I called him out on it, where he says, I've rolled back my salary to 2008 levels, and I'm doing it for you. I've saved taxpayers $5 million. In 2008, the salary for a representative was $169,400, I believe, and it's now $174,000, which has been since 2009.
Right.
So he's saving you $4,700 a year. But he wants you to think, oh, look at this sacrifice I'm making for you. I've rolled back my salary to 2008 levels. Again, less than $5,000 a year. So how has he saved you $5 million? Office staff, office resources, because when you don't work, you don't have to have the staff, you don't have to have the resources. But who does that affect? Constituents. It's not that he gives it back and then they send you all a check saying, look what your representative did to you. No, it goes to someone else who's going to use it. So he's not saving you, he's not helping you, he's costing you the services that he's been elected to provide. And he's now being challenged by Anthony Sabatini in the Republican primary, who was even more extreme, more to the right, so much so that even his own party doesn't like him. Because it was not a Democrat that gave him the name Absentini, because he missed more votes in the Florida House than anybody else not going through a terminal illness, which is true. And he got kicked off committees because he had so many unexcused absences because he was going to all these fancy GOP parties. They also gave him the teeny weeny Sabatini. That was not a Democrat, that was his own party. And it was his own party that sent him to the basement to have his own office in the basement because nobody wanted to be around him. But if he is elected, he will probably be one of the most extreme members of Congress, which we do not need. We don't need the chaos. We don't need the craziness. We need sensible representation that cares about the people. I'm not a politician. I'm a mom, and I just cared about wanting to do something. My grandfather, who originated in Alabama, used to say to me, if you're gonna sit there and run your mouth about it, you gotta do something about it. So I could no longer sit there and complain about all the things that were going on without trying to do something about it. Because I have 3 young kids. So to me, I could not just run my mouth about it and sit there and hope and pray it didn't happen without doing something. So when I saw that there was only Republicans running and there was no Democrat running, I was like, I gotta do something. So here I am. But I really want to thank you all for being so supportive. Thank you. And like Sue said, you're trying to collect the petitions to get on the ballot and ran into so many issues. It's been a nightmare because they're actually due on Monday. But so now we're collecting the money. In order to get just your name on the ballot, you have to pay $10,440, which will explain to you why only people with deep pockets or are supported by people with deep pockets are usually running. And for people like me, who just own a small business with my husband and just trying to take care of my kids and live my life, I can't hand over a check for that amount of money on my own. So that's why I'm out raising the money right now. We have another month to do it, and we're getting close. So again, people like you, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for me?
What's the deadline for money?
Okay, so the qualifying period is April 22nd through the 26th. So I have to go and hand deliver a check to Tallahassee by then.
Okay. Can you still receive petitions?
I can receive petitions, I just can't send them in. Because the petitions, you also have to pay to qualify them. So I think Sumter County, it was like 50 cents a petition. So I believe we almost collected 2,000 in Sumter County. So even if I were just to turn in those, it would be, here's another check for $1,000 just to count them. And if you didn't get enough, it was just, you were paying them to qualify them and it didn't do anything, so.
Now, you said you needed all our information. Can people sell money to you and it be legal, or?
I don't think so. If it is, I don't know about it, but the cash is accepted. The problem with cash is I have to have all of that information when I turn it in to the Federal Election Commission. Who gave it, what the address was, what your occupation is, and who your employer is. So if I can't, I have to return it. But that's why email addresses and phone numbers were on the envelopes, because sometimes people forget to put stuff down. And if I can't get that information by just sending an email or calling, which I've had to do, I have to send the money back to you. So that's why, it's not because I'm gonna sit there and bug you and all this other stuff. It's just so if I have a question, I can reach out to you.
So do you have a website address on this?
I don't, but I have cards back there that do, barbieforcongress.com.
Okay.
Yes.
Do I need to put my permanent address or my village address? Are you a
Yeah, it doesn't have to be your permanent address, I don't believe. If it's in the villages, I think that's fine. As long as it's your address, your legal address. You're asking me questions that I have to ask everybody. Yeah, if you just put your village's address, that should be fine. Yes.
Barbie, I've heard you before at another program. And have you heard of or have you reached
He is very popular right now. So to just reach out, that's basically impossible. But I am trying. So yes, I know that he is friendly with Maxwell Frost, who is the congressman in the next district over. But no, that is, I've heard that there's a lot of people that are kind of like, they want to make sure I'm the only Democrat in the race before they do things like that. But yes, I am more than happy to talk to him.
Well, I did send him your name
Thank you.
and told him that you were trying to make Barbie so, I'll send one other copy of something to him, so.
I appreciate it. Because even right now, congressional races are being handled by the DWCV out of Washington. So like even your local party, your local DEC or the state DEC cannot directly give me money because they have to do for state and local races, which I completely understand. I have to be supported by the DWCV. Problem is, I can't get anybody on, I can't even send an email to anybody. So I literally reached out to anybody and everybody I can. If you have an email address that I could just send an email to. When I was in DC a few weeks ago, I just happened to go to the front door and like, anybody can get an email address. Security was like, no, you have to have an appointment. So unfortunately, because of how many races there are and how many people, it's like trying to like wade through the information and just get in touch with people because they're getting, you know, hundreds of thousands of candidates all across the U.S. are trying to reach out to some of these people to get help. So right now I'm kind of one of many being like, hey, Florida District 11. Thank you.
Can you clarify Florida District 11? Is it just Sumter County or what?
No, so it's all of Sumter County. It is Lake County from Fruitland Park, Leesburg to Berries, all the way south. A very small portion of Polk County at the very top, and then it's West Orange County from Apopka, Vineland. It connects to I-4 corridor, and then it goes down Disney property, things like that. So that's why in the last redistricting, it ended up helping Democrats because it gave us more Democrat numbers because it included Orange County, took away Marion County, which is very red. So with NPAs, and Republicans that are, or Democrats that are registered, we have even numbers or close to even numbers with Republicans. So I was told that we need to get like 60% of NPA votes, which if you look at the Tom Keene race that happened back in January in Orange and Osceola counties, he was able to get like 70 to 80% NPAs and some Republicans, so that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because you know you're going to get the villages vote. What about the young folks your age and around your age and so on, all these other areas who are sort of apathetic or just not, you know, aware of?
We're working on it.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I'm just saying that's where we really get those kids to get up and get out and vote.
Actually, I was at the Orange DEC meeting on Monday. I've done a lot of work with them. They've been super supportive since I've entered the race. And I basically told them, hey, out in Lake County, out in the villages, the Republican Party is incredibly vocal, and there's not a whole lot to counter that. So I was trying to get some of those people to, hey, when there's some of these events over in the villages, we need you to come over here because it can have a really big impact on the area. So actually, I think I have some Orange County DEC members that are going to come out to the golf cart parade in a few weeks after the candidate meetup.
Is Emily's list helping you at all?
Emily's list is state.
Okay.
Wait. I always get Emily's list and Ruth's list mixed up. Emily's list, I believe, is the state and local. Ruth's list is national, and I reached out to them.
Okay, good.
So they're going to be sending me a candidate questionnaire so that I can hopefully get an endorsement.
Is there a cap on how much you can donate?
There is. Right now there's a primary cap, and you're going to ask me that, and I'm not going to know the answer to it because if I'm the only Democrat, then everything switches over to general, and it goes to the general election cap, which is more. in the primary. I'll have to get back to you. I just got over spring break with my kids, so my mind is not all the way there.